After bankrupt, his wife left him and their son. To make things worse, the police locked him up for unpaid tickets. The next day, he walked into a finance company for an interview wearing his paint-stained work clothes. The interviewers didn't even want to shake his hand. When Chris finished introducing himself, the CEO asked just one question. If a man came to an interview without even wearing a shirt and I still hired him, what would you think?
He must have had on some really nice pants.
His clever, humorous answer earned him the job, but the 6-month internship came with no pay, and only those who brought in the most clients could stay. Every day, he arrived earlier than anyone else. He didn't even drink water, so he wouldn't waste time going to the bathroom. Because he was black, the office manager often made him do chores, fetch water, buy coffee, making the already competitive internship even harder. Still, Chris endured it all. One day, he managed to call the president of a foundation, and by luck, the man had a 20-minute opening. Chris rushed out, but just then, the manager stopped him to park his car. He had no choice but to obey. By the time Chris arrived, the client had already left. That night, disaster struck again. The government deducted taxes from his bank account, taking everything he had. Now he couldn't even afford food. Evicted by his landlord, Chris dragged his suitcase and took his son to sleep in a subway restroom. When someone banged on the door outside, he covered his son's ears and braced the door with his foot to keep him asleep. The strong man finally broke down in tears. They were now completely homeless. At a park the next day, he spotted the old man who had stolen his scanner. Losing all composure, Chris chased him down and took it back, their only hope of survival. Later, he met a doctor interested in buying the scanner, but during the demonstration, it broke. The doctor kindly told him to fix it and come back later. The next day, still carrying his only suit and his suitcase, Chris went to work, then lined up at a homeless shelter with his son after hours. The line stretched all the way down the block. After a long wait, they finally got 2 spots. Late at night, after putting his son to sleep, Chris stayed up fixing the scanner. When he was too tired, he studied finance under the faint light from the window. Every day passed the same, working, hustling for a shelter spot, sometimes sleeping on buses when they couldn't get in. Finally, the internship exam arrived. Chris finished quickly and turned in his paper. As he walked out, he ran into the CEO, who had forgotten his wallet, and asked to borrow $5 for a cab. Chris hesitated. It was all the money he had, but he still lent it. Later, desperate for cash, he sold his blood for $24, spent $8 on scanner parts, and anxiously flipped the switch after fixing it. The scanner lit up the whole room. The doctor kept his word and bought it, giving Chris enough money to live for another month. Then came the final day of the internship. The manager called his name. Nervous, Chris took off his glasses, straightened his jacket, and walked in. He greeted them with a shaky voice, forcing a smile. "I thought I'd wear a shirt today, you know, being the last day and all."
Wear one tomorrow, though, okay? Because tomorrow's going to be your first day.
Chris nodded repeatedly, fighting back tears. But as they shook hands, they rolled down anyway. As he was leaving, the CEO called him back and returned the $5. Walking through the crowd, Chris raised his hands high and clapped for himself. After all the hardship, happiness had finally knocked on his door.